Sound Advice with Doug Leonard from ASI. It is another episode. And, Doug, when I leave after work from talking all day, I am physically exhausted, and that is just talking. I can about imagine what it's like for people who are trying to listen and trying to understand when they have hearing loss.
Yeah, it can be very challenging. I saw an article recently, and we posted it on our Facebook page from a great website called Hearing Tracker, and it was about listening fatigue and listening effort. And I experienced this myself. A few weeks ago, went to a wedding of real good friends of ours, and beautiful ceremony. The venue was amazing, a great venue, but there's also 250 people in that room.
Yeah.
And, laughing, sharing stories, enjoying themselves, having some cocktails. So the volume gets a little louder. And the venue was great. They had acoustic panels on the ceiling. They did the best that they could do to try to make that environment more listening friendly, but it was still hard to hear. And I really struggle hearing in background noise. And I experienced this thing, listening fatigue. I was sitting with folks and visiting at the table and just really had to make a big effort to hear what anyone was saying around the table to try to filter out that background noise. And, halfway through the night, I was honestly kind of ready to go. Was starting to, fatigue a little bit. Now I go to bed early. Maybe that was part of it, but also, was maybe a little bit frustrated by, having to ask people to repeat things all the time. And so that's something that people with hearing loss can really struggle with.
Trying to be a part of the conversation and maybe respond, I don't want to say correctly, but,
right.
Are you laughing because you understood the joke? Or are you laughing because, everybody else is laughing? And that would be hard.
It's a vicious cycle because you're asking people to repeat. Sometimes you're just smiling and nodding when you really don't hear what they say, and you miss out on really a lot of the important things that go along with being social. I think folks, when they're in situations like that, it can be, again, a drain on energy. It can affect their mood. Hopefully I didn't have a bad look on my face and wasn't crabby with all the folks sitting at the table, but when you're struggling, you can have some looks on your face that you don't even realize you're making. It can affect relationships. It can affect social confidence. People don't like to be in situations like that when they are struggling to communicate.
I would think that they would pull away from those kind of conversations, and maybe, like you said, you were done for the night, so you could have been checked out long before that and not, giving your full attention. So
yep, and that's I think what points to the importance of having a hearing evaluation and finding out if you're struggling with situations like that. And I'm 54 years old and don't really have a hearing loss, but I obviously have an auditory processing issue. My ears are picking the sound up. My brain isn't sorting it out. So, doing a diagnostic evaluation, finding out about the sensitivity of your ears, whether you have a hearing loss or not, and then doing some speech and noise testing, which we can do to find out how our auditory processing works, is a great way to start. If the results of the test suggest that a person needs help with their hearing, we can counsel them for appropriate recommendations for that. And I'm excited to actually, I don't know if folks have seen these Meta glasses. I'm going to be getting a pair of those myself and trying them out. And they have some hearing and noise assistance that you can use too. So probably a topic for Sound Advice in August.
There you go. Check that out for sure. But if you feel like you are experiencing some listening fatigue, then definitely give Doug a call. He's on Facebook as well. But Doug, one more time, what's that phone number?
Yeah, it's 792-5933.
You've been listening to Sound Advice with Doug Leonard from Audiological Services of Iowa.